right. Marissa Solis, thank you so much for coming to the Brand Innovators podcast. We're happy to have you.
Thank you for having me.
This is a big week for you.
This is the Super Bowl.
Yeah, this is the Super Bowl of the Super Bowl.
This is the Super Bowl of the Super Bowl. It's one of the biggest weeks for us, but also the most fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the culmination of the whole season,
all
everything
of your work.
We've worked hard for. So.
Absolutely. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We just saw you speak with Big Brothers Big Sisters and saw an ad that you did with Big Brothers Big Sisters, which I think the NFL is one of the largest partners, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. And it was really touching.
Yes, it was. I mean, it was a very simple message, but I think one that sometimes we forget, and I think people need to hear.
Yeah.
It's
you're enough.
Yeah. You're enough. And essentially, like, if you believe in somebody, you know, you are somebody. And
that's right. That's right. I think, and that's like the thing that comes back as you grow older, time and time again. Like, you have to recommit to that message to yourself. Like, oh, I am enough. No, I'm still enough. I'm still enough. I'm still enough. And so to hear that when you're young, especially when you're the most impressionable, that's really powerful.
Very powerful. And, you know, one of the really powerful stories of that commercial, so Demario Davis, you know, he's obviously a New Orleans saint and New Orleans native. He is also a Big in Big Brothers Big Sisters. When he came to the spot to do the commercial, he already had the full affirmation memorized. And he told us that he does affirmations with his kids every morning.
That's really
cool. Because he believes in the power.
Yeah.
And it's such a simple thing.
Yeah.
Right? It's just, you know, making a repetition, if you will, but having him be that voice and then seeing these are real members of Big Brothers Big Sisters in New Orleans, all of these kids. It was just really special.
That's really cool.
It was really special.
And you were a little. You're now a Big, and you were a little.
Yes.
So this obviously is an important organization. Was it just happenstance that you ended up at the NFL and you happen to have had this relationship and long-term relationship with Big Brothers and Big Sisters?
Well, yeah. I mean, the NFL has had the relationship with Big Brothers Big Sisters for a very long time.
That's great.
When I came to the NFL, I knew they were one of the, you know, many recipients of our foundation, but I didn't know artists and Adam until they came to have a meeting with Tim and I and our team and really talk about this idea of the draft that Adam talked about. And, you know, it's so special to hear that because as a marketer, anytime you can personally connect to the mission, to the message, it's so much more special.
Absolutely.
Because you're connecting your personal passions and beliefs. And something that was so impactful in my life.
Yeah.
To then be able to give back and do it in the trade that I do, right?
Yeah.
And the thing that I can do well. It was awesome.
That's really cool. Yeah. You mentioned that you feel very passionately about this. Obviously, that makes sense. And that young women in particular need mentors. Talk to me a little bit about, you know, what that means to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody needs to hear and needs that guidance. My experience in particular, you know, I'm an immigrant from Mexico. I came to this country at age 10, and you really do feel very lost. And it's not just the fact that I was coming from a different place. When you don't have anybody to just show you the way. You know, my parents were wonderful. They sacrificed a lot to get us to where we were, but they didn't know. The American experience.
Sure.
They didn't know what it is to go to school and
register.
And register, and even college wasn't a thing.
Right.
And so to have somebody from that very young age, and my Big actually was a teacher in the school that I was at, and to have that person just provide guidance and support, but really it's like a fuel, you know, and say, you can do it, you can succeed.
And show you the way. And
show you the way, remove the obstacles. Right. Very, very powerful. And today, I just feel particularly young women, you know, don't have a lot of role models and need that. You know, now, you know, they have Taylor Swift, right, to look up to and see that success.
Yeah.
But there's still so many in our communities that don't know where to go. They're so talented. They have so much potential. And they just need someone to light that spark.
Absolutely. And I actually heard a crazy statistic the other day that if you ask most Gen Alpha, so I guess that's the new generation under Gen Z, what they want to be, a lot of them, like 50% are saying influencer. And that made me a little sad because I was thinking, is there such a vacuum of good role models that people think, okay, well, that looks fun and easy, I'll do that. Whereas if they had the right mentorship, they had the right role models, they knew what types of careers were out there, that they could
you're
go
hitting
into
on
that.
something really important. What you see is what you believe, right? And you have to see it to be it. And when you are surrounded by social media, and a lot of social media we know is images and mirages and people in their perfect selves, right?
At the perfect moment.
Yeah, at the
Not when they're at
perfect
the grocery
moment.
store, right?
I think then there's a void in really knowing the moments that are special, because there is very special things in the struggle. There's very special things in being vulnerable. There's very special things in asking for help. Those are all the things that build character
Absolutely.
and grit and, that make you successful. And it is sad to know that many, many young people aren't seeing those things or hearing about those things, which is why having someone tell you how it really is and be vulnerable with you and just show the way and be able to say, you know what, it's okay. You're not always going to look pretty, be invited to every party. It's not always going to be perfect, and that is life. I think that's that message. And by the way, you may feel like you're this little when you see so many perfect things. No, you belong. You are great. You are somebody.
Yeah. You mentioned vulnerability, and it sparked for me, a question about how do you think about vulnerability at work, in your life? I think a lot of times we're not prone to be vulnerable and be open. So how do you think about that? Like, when you go to work every day?
Yeah, I try my best to always be my authentic self, and that means being vulnerable. So admitting when I don't know things, because I mean, you can't know everything there is to know in the world. And I think when you admit you don't know something, you're actually opening up,
Absolutely,
an opportunity for people to teach you something new. So those kinds of things, when you're not having a good day, I think it's okay if you're not having a good day to just say, hey, I'm struggling today.
Yes.
Just bear with me a little bit. And I think people, when they see that vulnerability, connect a lot better with you.
And don't you think that that's changed a lot over the past generation? I remember my mom going to work and having to it's like that Taylor Swift song, you should smile through the tears or something like that, right? They just faked it till they made it. And I think that's changing today, where you can be more vulnerable.
I think there's permission to be vulnerable. I love that. I grew up in that generation when, especially being a woman, it was very hard to get in the room. It was very hard to be heard. And you had to, kind of fake your way in, push your way in.
Right.
And I think now there's a lot more permission to just be yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just, bring in all the strengths you have, but also the things that you don't know, the things that you may not be as good at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Partner with someone else.
Yes, and be able to say oh, that's not my best area of expertise.
For sure.
Hire those people around you that could do those types of jobs.
For sure. I think it's also great as you build your team and build people.
Yeah.
You have to know, and myself included, I am surrounded by the smartest people and the most passionate and creative people in the business. And if it weren't for them, we wouldn't be this successful. And I think being able to just recognize, you do not do it alone. Nobody's an island.
Absolutely.
As you connect with others and see the strength in everyone and bring everyone together, it just creates, magic. And that's what you want to do with a team.
I want to ask you a little bit about career pivots, because I know you spent a very long time in PepsiCo and Frito-Lay and that side of the business, and then moved into sports, which you had never really done before.
Nope.
Talk to me about the idea of pivoting and then how you kind of got the chutzpah to go for it.
Yeah, it's, I could write a whole book on this thing. It started a long time ago. I actually studied to be an ambassador, believe it or not.
Wow.
That's what I wanted to be in life. And
Foreign service route?
Foreign service.
Okay.
So I went to the School of Foreign Service.
Wow.
Passed my foreign service exam. I was this close to going into the foreign service. And actually, a mentor of mine said, let me tell you how it really works. If you really want to be an ambassador, you got to go into corporate America, make a lot of money and a name for yourself, and then one day you'll donate to someone's campaign, and then maybe they'll make you ambassador.
Wow.
So that turned everything around. I pivoted to corporate, started at P&G, did Deloitte, spent 20 years at Pepsi. And PepsiCo is an incredible company. It is one of those places where your whole career is kind of planned for you. And if you're successful, you just keep growing and moving, and there's a path for you. And so I knew my path. I mean, I was going to retire from PepsiCo. And one day, literally out of the blue, I was at a soccer tournament with my daughter. I got a phone call. And it was a typical phone call that many marketers get, right? Hey, I have this opportunity to come lead, marketing at a great brand. And my answer was like, well, I'm already at
one of the best
brand.
brands.
I'm in the most iconic brands in the world. Why would I leave? And they said, well, this is for the NFL.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So when you hear
you're like,
that,
you could find any other sports marketer because that's not me, but
National Football League. Yeah. That is arguably the biggest platform in the world.
Absolutely.
And it just came out of the blue. And it was really, really tough decision to leave, a company I'd been in for 20 some odd years, leave what I know and take this giant leap. I mean, the NFL is not a Fortune 500 company. It is not a publicly run company. It's not a corporate company. It is a sports league and organization. And there's so many different things. It's also a media and entertainment company.
Absolutely.
You don't sell anything. There's no widget, right? It's about the sport and it's about relevance and it's about culture, and it just is a different ballgame.
Absolutely.
Literally.
Yeah.
And so I think just taking the leap, right? There were so many things that went through my mind as you think about vulnerability and, can I really do this job? I don't know anything about, how the league operates. I don't know anything. I mean, I know the sport of football.
Absolutely.
I watch it. Yeah. But, how is a Cowboys fan going to really, lead the biggest league in fan engagement? And can I really do this? That was kind of the first question, which is terrible to, I should have been like, yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that was one. And then, my daughter was a senior in high school at the time. And it required me to move to New York. She wasn't going to move, obviously, as a senior. And it was going to require a lot of sacrifice. And so I actually said no. The first time because of her. And, obviously they came back and, my daughter was the one that really said, Mom, you cannot turn this thing down. Right.
Yeah,
and
that's
so,
cool.
so yet again, the vulnerability, digging deep down and listening to, my 18-year-old daughter who gave me very wise advice.
Yeah. That's great.
And that's what did it. And it's been amazing. Amazing for years.
How did you even come onboard? I mean, how do you onboard into a role where you don't know anything, but your team does, but you're leading these people, and so they're looking up to you for guidance, but you don't even know the business model? How do you navigate that first 6-12 months within your new role?
And I think that's, everything we've been talking about and what I learned, from all my mentors and growing up, there really is a lot of humility. You have to come in with humility and knowing that, hey, I have a lot to learn and there are people here that can teach me, but I also have a perspective. I have an outside perspective that I can share, and together we can really change some things. I was very lucky to be working for Tim Ellis. Obviously, he had a vision and an edict that I was very passionate about. And he brought me in because he believed in me. And so that belief was huge. I mean, I may not have known anything at the beginning, but I had that belief that he had in me. And then I trusted my team to get us through. And I think them seeing that trust also was huge, right? So
Absolutely.
there's a lot of themes that, like you said, maybe an old corporate or, didn't used to come up, but humility,
Vulnerability,
trust, vulnerability, those are the things that really get you to be successful. And not you as an individual, but you as a whole. And it's such a powerful thing when the team comes together and we all believe in each other and we all respect and uplift each other, because then you see it in the work.
Absolutely.
So it's really been great.
I'm going to pivot a little bit. What advice would you give to your 23-year-old self, just kind of coming out of school, getting into your first role?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I would say is it's going to be okay. It really is going to be okay. I think, our 20-year-old selves are full of anxiety about the world. And, I would say it's going to be okay. Just be ready for change. Be ready to navigate in ambiguity, because that is the world.
I know.
And the more you're comfortable in ambiguity and ready to pivot at a moment's notice and just take things in stride, it's going to be okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I would say, take risks, because I didn't take that many risks early in my career. I was really corporate. I mean, when you say corporate, it's like you follow the company line, and then, it did me well. I advanced as I did, but it was always kind of the upward trajectory. And it wasn't until I did the cross, they call it the jungle gym, right? You take a step back to then move forward, you take to the side. And in Pepsi, I was able to do that. It wasn't until I took some risks that things just accelerated for me. So taking risks, doing things you never thought you could. Like, don't just say, oh, I don't know. I don't think I can. I don't have the skills or the talent. Just go for it.
Yeah, I love that. Speaking of taking risks, we're here at Super Bowl. It's a big week for you, obviously. What are you most excited about?
Gosh, there's so many things I'm excited about. If you get a chance to go around the city and just see the decor,
yes,
it is truly special. And
even in the airport, I mean, you're welcomed with it.
You are, and it's special. Every Super Bowl is everywhere, right? And you'll see the decor and you'll be bombarded with it. This one is so unique and special to the city. And my team actually partnered with a local artist named Queen Taj.
Okay.
She is the first African-American and indigenous, she's part of the indigenous Black masking tribes of New Orleans.
Yes.
She's the first one to design the Super Bowl logo, the trophy, all of the artwork. And so look around the city.
Yeah.
It's not just like artwork. Everything is crafted. She handcrafted that logo. So everything is like unique and bespoke, and it really is in that Black masking tradition. So I'm very, very proud of that.
I can't wait to see it.
You will see her work displayed on the cathedral in the square.
I saw that last night.
And
it's gorgeous.
It's just the most beautiful thing. So I'm very, very proud of that. I actually, and Tim mentioned this today in our conversation, I'm so proud of the commissioner and his commitment to diversity efforts at the league and everything that he said in that press conference. I think his words were, this isn't something that we got into because it was a trend, nor will we get out of because it's a trend.
Wow.
Diversity has made the league better.
That's
and
great.
There's nothing, more fundamental to business than to reflect the customer base you serve.
Absolutely.
And our fan base is everyone. I mean, our fan base is incredibly diverse and covers every generation, every ethnicity. And so to hear him say that was really great.
That's great.
So I'm very proud of that too.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I mean, I'm proud to be in this organization.
Yeah.
And then we'll have a great game.
Absolutely.
It's going to be really fun.
Good luck.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for coming, Marissa Solis.
No, thank you so much.
Absolutely.